Mark Carney, Trudeau's money man, globalist, China's pal. Weeks in, he jets to Beijing, scores a $250 million loan from their state bank. 11 MPs tied to Beijing. Carney's crew says nothing, selling us out. Foreign cash, secret deals. Carney's Canada.
Hi, I'm Candice Malcolm, and this is the Candice Malcolm Show. We have a great show for you today, and you might notice I'm in a different studio than normal. Well, my family and I recently purchased an acreage in rural Ontario, and we are here at the farm. I'm so excited. I have my 4 kids out with us. We're going to have such an adventure out here. And originally, I was going to buy a new studio to match the studio that I have in my other house. I was going to buy the same bookcases and the same plants and the same backdrop. But then the original farmhouse here has this beautiful wooden office. I kind of feel like I'm at Tucker Carlson's studio, like in the woods in Maine. And I just thought it was so beautiful. So I decided to stick with it. I know it's a little dark in here. I'm going to be buying better lighting and I'm going to improve the whole setup in here. But I'm super excited. And I hope maybe I'll even start having people in studio and doing interviews in here because it's a really beautiful space. I'm really excited for today's show. I'm joined by a new guest that I've never had on the program before. His name is Mario Zelaya. He's a political commentator and a businessman. And if you're anything like me, you see Mario's videos all over social media. All of a sudden, I just started seeing them pop up on X all the time, going through the news stories, pointing out the facts, giving us a fact-based analysis. I love it. And so I wanted to have Mario to join us on the show today. So Mario, great to have you today.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on, Candice.
So tell us about yourself, Mario. Like how did you become this sort of like viral political sensation in Canada? I think you're on TikTok, is that right?
Yeah, so I started in TikTok about maybe 2 years ago, and funny enough, originally it started in the way my original account, and I'll explain that in a second. My original account blew up because I had a bad experience with an old Tesla Model S. I had bought it in 2013. Long story short, the way it was designed, the AC condensate was leaking water on top of the battery. Battery died. There was literally basically water was leaking on top of the battery. Battery died. Tesla had a notification. I only got a notification of high voltage. That means it couldn't blow up. I
Wow.
took it to them. They wouldn't warranty it, and it was a $29,000 bill. That went like mega viral, like 19 million views plus, covered by almost every major news station, I think, in the world. And it became a huge thing, and my account really exploded. And I just started posting about business and stuff in general. And I started seeing, I started realizing politics was affecting more of my life than I ever thought imaginable. And I was never into politics at all. I never followed it. And it was literally about a year and a half ago that I really started commenting on it. And people are like, you're uncovering a lot of stuff and you're giving us a different perspective. And as time went on, you start kind of connecting the dots. And that's all I really like to do is I like to really look up news articles and connect a dot with something else that might have happened before, with something else that might have happened before, which something else that maybe wasn't covered. And that's ultimately all I'm doing. And I'm presenting it to people in a way where they can digest it. And so, the common feedback I've had from people is they really like that approach. And people who don't even care about politics, they never cared about it before. I've been to, one of my kids plays basketball. I've had kids that he plays against with asking me for pictures. Like these are, 11-year-old kids who recognize me, who want to take pictures, and they see my videos all the time on TikTok. And just because I own a lot of businesses, I'm very busy. I don't really have time to do this. Like I do this only when I have spare time. Um, and I try doing it as punctually as possible in a succinct manner, as much as possible. And it was only really until I think I've only been on X and Instagram for about 4 months, and both accounts are growing quite rapidly. And I'm just continuing what I'm doing, and a lot of it has to do because my staff member is actually helping me post videos that maybe I posted before that are still relevant today. But it was really his idea to say, you know what, Mario, like let me just repost this stuff for you, because I told him I just don't have time. And so now that I create a video, I have a good system of how to upload it and kind of grow these other accounts and get people more aware of what's happening in our country.
Well, I absolutely love your videos. I think you're so good at getting to the bottom of things and pointing out what the key part of a story is that maybe the media is missing or the political class is
Mhm.
missing. And sometimes it takes an outsider's perspective. Or if I could ask, what is it that got you into politics? Like, what happened a year and a half ago that sort of flipped the switch that made you start thinking about this stuff?
I mean, I don't know if there was anything. Well, I would say that the major thing that really irritated me, um, to no end, and I don't think I'll still forgive the government, was the vaccines. Like, my wife and I were never gonna get it. And it was this, coercion that was done on people like myself, who didn't want it, but we couldn't travel anywhere. We couldn't do anything, and we're bottled up. We can't go to transport. You couldn't go to a food court and sit down and eat your food with a special class of people if you didn't have a vaccine. And, that there wasn't really much to do. We couldn't leave the country, couldn't do much. And, we're debating, should we not do it? The numbers look safe. It looks okay. To this date, it's one of the biggest regrets we have. That was one of the big steps, and that obviously was more than a year and a half ago. And, during that time period, I mean, I had an extremely successful business. It's called Bad Axe Throwing. I think a lot of people would recognize it. Like, if people know what axe throwing is, modern day wise, you probably know it because of me. If you've ever seen it on TV, that's one of my other companies that I own, which is called the World Axe Throwing League. I had to deal with ESPN, which then televised it on TSN. So if you ever see any sort of axe throwing championship competitions, that's one of the other companies that I own. While that company, is still doing quite well, and Bad Axe Throwing is as well. Back then we were just crushing it. And the big comparisons, like from the US to Canada, was just completely night and day, and it was purely political. The US was like, you know what? We asked you to close down. We're really going to support you. I got in the US for my US operations of the business, and I've never said this publicly, but I got nearly $1 million from the government as a grant. Like, this is to maintain my operations, to keep people on payroll, to pay for my rent because they forced me to shut down. Canada gave us a $40,000 loan, and my operations weren't that much different in Canada than they were in the US, except we were shut down for 2 to 3 times longer in Canada. Ontario, most people don't realize, and I know this because I was in the most scrutinized shutdown industry in the world. I was in indoor recreation entertainment. Oh, don't go into those indoor places. You're going to get COVID. Oh, what are the sanitations limits on it? Oh, you can't do that. You should only go out in groups with your own family members. So we went from a business that you couldn't book with us unless you book like 3, 4 weeks in advance with a minimum of 10 people. Our model now is like, we had to adjust it to book with as little as 4, and it just completely decimated the revenue numbers, the booking numbers. It never went back to what it used to. It never went back. We got hit hard with inflation. We got hit hard with COVID. We recovered. Then we got hit hard, even harder with inflation. And things just got progressively worse. And I was like, man, we are just getting kicked in the teeth over and over again. I'm like, I'm not staying silent anymore. And now that I have this audience, people need to know what the government is responsible for. It just what is happening makes absolutely no sense. And that's when I started really just ramping things up. And so the sentiment was always there. The audience was not. I was never intending to be any sort of a social media, person at all, or a personality. I have no interest in monetizing it. It's not a thing that I ever aspired to. I don't care about the fame. I don't care about any of that stuff. It was really just about to get the message out, and what I was saying really resonated with a lot of people. And so that's basically where I am today.
So at the sort of depth of both COVID, the restrictions, I mean, it's incredible. The government forced you to shut down your business, and yet, all that they were there to offer was a loan. Like, just curious, did you consider leaving the country? And if you did, why didn't you go?
And in all fairness and in full transparency, they gave me 20 grand as a grant. And so I got a $60,000 loan, but if I paid it by this amount, they'd give me 20 grand for free. That did nothing. That covered rent for maybe like a handful of locations, maybe. And it was completely immaterial and inconsequential to the total operations and the amount of people that I actually employed, and the total overhead that I had. And so it was a huge amount of government overreach and not enough support, and not enough science-based data. At that time, we didn't consider leaving, to be honest. It wasn't a thought that crossed my mind. And my wife and I had that discussion a long time ago, and basically where we ended up is our family's here, like we're happy here, and we're gonna make this thing work. And so it was never really something that crossed my mind, to be honest.
Well, if you can survive as a small business owner under Justin Trudeau, I suppose you could survive just about anything. Mario, I want to talk about the news. Story of another TikTok influencer, although I think that she probably has the exact opposite motives that you do. I think all she wants is fame and fortune. Talking about Rachel Gilmore. And so we covered this on the show last week. She got hired by CTV to do a fact-checking segment. And I mean, to me, this is just the most farcical thing imaginable. Like, Rachel Gilmore is a meme of herself. She is always pushing whatever the most extreme version of the narrative is. She tries to fact check others while basically all she's doing is pushing her own far left agenda. And really, like, no matter what issue it is, you can count on Rachel Gilmore to take the most extreme far left view. And so it was a little surprising for some of us to see that she'd been brought on by CTV, which is, as mainstream media as you can get, especially given that, maybe during election, you might want to have a bit of balance and not bring on the most extreme left winger in journalism. So it didn't really surprise me that she was out of a job. We learned this last night that Rachel Gilmore, her segment was canceled amid backlash. She blamed the Conservative Party. Here is a video that she uploaded to TikTok yesterday talking about how she said that she was bullied out of a job by the far right. Let's play that clip.
This is why I get harassed so badly, because they know that it'll work. If you see someone reporting on far right, on threats to democracy, on the rights of trans people, and you bully everyone who gives them a career opportunity anytime they achieve anything, and then those career opportunities get taken away, you're going to realize that it works. And now, because CTV just caved to this pressure for no other reason than the backlash that these guys intentionally inflicted on me, they're going to know that they can do it again. This is a direct attack on journalism, on the freedom of the press, and frankly, it really, really is crushing for me.
Gosh, you almost feel sorry for her if you forget all of the context about all of the nasty things she said about unvaccinated people or people who don't want boys playing in girls' sports, or I mean, any number of issues. But what do you make of this whole controversy, Mario?
Yeah, honestly, I had no idea who she was a couple of months ago, at all. And I had been tagged in a video where someone was, and there's always going to be, similar, what I believe are far left extremists calling me out for disinformation, but they never tell you what the disinformation is. Or what they'll do is they'll take a small clipping of a larger context of what you're talking about, and then this is how evil Mario is, and this is the disinformation he's talking about. But when it comes to having a direct debate, they could never hold up in having that, and they would never actually engage in that kind of a conversation. Now, she was encouraging people to do that about me, and that's the first time I'd ever heard her. I was like, who the heck is this Rachel Gilmore girl? When I opened up my X account, I was like, man, a lot of people really don't like her. I'm like, I wonder what's up with this girl. And I saw something that she had posted. I honestly can't remember what it was, but I fact checked her. And it the I guess there's the whole ratioing. Like when people really like your comment more than the original post itself, it becomes very, I would say, emotional for the person who actually posted it. And I believe that's how my first engagement started with her. And she then decided to make a video about me. And everyone knows, anyone who ever follows me knows that I was always a Trump fan before the terrorists. And that's important to mention because, you know, uh, uh, while I like a lot of his policies and I like that he's putting America first, I don't like what he's doing to Canada whatsoever. As soon as that happened, any, sort of mention, because I used to say, I'm the Maple MAGA. This is and this was like a common theme that people said before. She weaponized that and did that post tariffs. And that's a very important distinction to make, because everyone's very sensitive, and rightfully so, about, being a 51st stater, and this guy's a traitor, this, that, and the other. But that wasn't the case at all. And I've always said I'm always Canada first. She weaponized that, asked her followers to basically, hey guys, this is the business he owns, but I got to tell you, don't harass his employees, and make sure you don't because we're not that type of people, let's not do anything bad. And it's kind of like, she's basically doing enough to send a message to her followers. And they did. They left dozens and dozens of negative reviews on bad axe throwing in my Canadian locations. One of those businesses, which is in Windsor, isn't owned by me. That is owned by a small business owner who basically franchises or licenses it from me. They're calling me in a panic, emailing me, being like, Mario, what the heck is going on? What do we do with all these? Anyways, long story short, all the negative reviews are gone. But someone like Rachel, as you mentioned, I truly believe will always take the furthest left extreme of any position. And I learned this word on an X, where people describe her as a cry bully. And the clip, I believe, is very representative of that, where, oh, I'm a victim. How dare they do this? People, this is how you target, this is unfair to women, men, people of color, this, that. And it's like, don't give me that. Like, do not give me any of that. I have zero pity for you. I now understand why there's such a great deal of people who dislike you, to the point that CTV felt the pressure. This isn't a Pierre Polyev attack. This isn't something coming from Pierre being like, we need to get her off on TV. That is the perfect example of who she is and what she represents when she twists the narrative. And I mean, I'm not going to disclose some of the other messages I've gotten from other people that have accused her of much worse things, much worse things, of people who have lost their jobs. And so, I can't verify it, can't validate it. I'm not going to get involved in it, but I mean, it's not very good.
Yeah, I mean, my experiences with her are sort of similar. I agree. She's kind of a bully. Like, it's funny that she wraps herself in a cloak of defending the marginalized and women and things like that, because her favorite line of attack against me, Mario, has nothing to do with me whatsoever. She likes to go after my husband, who has a successful career in tech. And she's decided that him and his colleagues are like the Canadian version of Elon Musk. And so when she's talking about me, she did like a 12-part TikTok series about me. And
Wow.
about him too. And it's like she doesn't even refer to me as me. She just calls me my husband's wife, like so and so's wife, like treating me like I'm just, some bored housewife who's turning on social media, and that I don't really have like a career unto myself or an identity unto myself, which I always found was a little bit amusing. But to in her defense, I almost think that she's an example of somebody who just believes the narrative on absolutely everything. Like, when I hear Justin Trudeau speak, I think he is just so full of BS and so full of nonsense, and everything he says, like, he's a pathological liar. And I think that probably most people watching the show right now have a similar view of Trudeau and the Liberals and everything they've been saying, even pre-COVID, but let's just start during COVID, like the total nonsensical, like, panic that they said that we were all going to die, and that if you left your home you were going to kill grandma, and all that kind of stuff, right through to the COVID vaccine, right through to the trucker convoy. Those people are Nazis, and they're funded by Trump, and they're funded by Russians. Like, every nonsensical, insane story that Justin Trudeau would push, it's like Rachel Gilmore falls for it hook, line, and sinker, and then she becomes the enforcer and saying, anyone who disagrees with me, I'm going to go after, and I'm going to expose just how insane and radical they are. And then she gets to sort of have this valor, like she's the good guy and she's on a crusade against misinformation and disinformation, which is why it was just so interesting. I think ironic that CTV hired her for this role, because she's become so notorious and, like you said, so hated. Anytime she's posting on social media, the comments are just absolutely pillying her, and
And
it's
it,
embarrassing for her. And so the
it's
fact that CTV brought her on, it just shows a total out of touch. Like, they actually think that she's good at what she does. And it wasn't until they put her on this platform and got all the feedback. And I don't think it was, I think you're right. I don't think Pierre Polyev even knows who she is. Like, I don't think it was feedback from the top. It was just the Canadian public are like, stop, this person is not legitimate. They don't have credibility. They're totally non-serious person. And then CTV realized like, oh, okay, maybe it's us that's out of touch. Maybe we're the ones that are too extreme on the left. And all these people that we like to smear as being far right and radical, those are actually just normal everyday Canadians. And it's our views, my views and your views, Mario. Like we're just sort of like normal suburban parents trying to
Mhm.
get by in Canada, and they paint us as if we're some kind of like a nefarious force. What do you think?
Well, and sorry, I was just gonna actually quickly add to your point. Like my understanding, and again, I didn't know this until I joined X, but my understanding is she got sued, and so did CBC because I believe she mislabeled someone as a white supremacist.
Who?
I think his last name is something Abbott, who was, I think, a protester or something. But apparently, they had to settle out of court.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's what my understanding is of it. And so, when those facts are there, and how can you have, and the question has to be is how can you have someone like that as a fact checker, who has basically been in a position with a large broadcaster, mainstream media, and absolutely mislabeled someone. And so, you have, situations like this that just kind of just that doesn't make much sense to me. And so I really do believe that CTV listened to people, and I think the approach that she took, she couldn't have gone about it in a much worse way. And for someone,
Well,
yeah.
I just want to jump in there. Sorry to interrupt you there, Mario, but she did share an audio recording. So I guess she recorded a conversation where she got fired. And of course, because everything she does it for clicks. So she uploaded this. Let's play this clip and hear what that sounded like.
I have to say, I knew that you had that troll base, and I knew that we would get, some sort of reaction, but I really did not realize the extent of the volume of that pushback that we've had. My goal as the EP for the show is I just want to do election coverage.
Yeah,
And
100%.
it's a critical election for Canadians. We've got Trump, we've got tariffs, we've got crazy amounts of information coming in, and we just want to be able to get that to people. But who we're talking to is kind of drowning out the what we're talking about right now. And I don't feel like we have the bandwidth to deal with it. So I feel terrible about doing this, but I'm just gonna call down the segment that we were planning to do with you, because I just don't think we have the bandwidth to be able to keep the focus where we need to.
I don't know about you, Mario. I don't know if you've ever been fired from a job, but I don't understand the impulse to record like probably a personally devastating conversation and then instantly put it out, I guess, to get sympathy. I don't quite understand why. Maybe this is like a trend online that people like to record themselves getting fired and then share it to get sympathy. What do you make of that?
Honestly, when you're trying to make your career as a social media person, you're trying to be this credible person as a journalist. You have been given this opportunity. There's more elegant ways of parting ways. And this, I believe, is the absolute worst thing you could possibly do. Like, I don't understand how it makes any sort of sense. Imagine, and it's no different than an NBA player. If an NBA player says, F this team, F the coach, F these people, and you're a problem, no one's going to want you. It doesn't, like, your talent level is not going to matter. And so imagine when that talent level just isn't even there. Like, what do you think is then going to happen to you? Like, you think other NBA teams are going to come pick you up? That this is no different. Like, this is the highest stage that you have. You have CTV, you have CBC, you have a very few handful of media companies, and you just permanently burn that bridge. I really don't understand it, and I truly believe it's exactly what you mentioned. It is about the clicks. It's about getting the pity. It's about and I don't know. I just the views. I can't make any sense of it. I would never in a million years do anything like this. And to me, this just made absolutely no sense. And it was honestly, it was just, for lack of a better, I thought it was pathetic.